Have you ever wondered what it takes to create an email marketing strategy for a 9-figure business? In this video, I'm going to share my experience working with over 150 D2C brands on email marketing strategy, everywhere from the very beginning at 6 figures up to 7 figures, 8 figures, and 9 figures, and how your strategy should change along with who you will need to bring into your business at each stage of these levels of scale. I'll also be talking about what you should prioritize from a strategy perspective in order to maximize your return on investment and get the best results. Why listen to me? Well, I've been working in e-commerce for over 15 years now. I've had an email marketing, retention marketing agency for over 4. We've worked with over 150 brands across multiple verticals, everything from fast-moving consumer goods to furniture, you name it. We've probably worked in the industry. And the lessons that I'm going to share with you today are based on my own personal experience speaking to CEOs, CMOs, some of the brightest minds in the industry, and just leveraging their insights as well as my own personal experimentation and work I've done within our agency. So let's get right back into it. Let's start at the very beginning at the 6-figure range. What do you need to be prioritizing here? Well, actually, from an email perspective, you don't actually need to do too much. At the least, yes, you should have your core flows and automation set up. For example, your welcome series, your abandoned cart, your post-purchase flow, and browse abandonment flow, just to make sure you plug that leaky bucket. But you don't need to be too sophisticated here from a design perspective. You really want to set these core flows up just to maximize conversions from the new traffic that you're acquiring. And in terms of improving overall retention, again, you don't need to focus too much on this area of the business apart from just speaking to new customers coming in, because you're really trying to find product market fit. You're not trying to double down on retention, or rather you shouldn't be. You're actually going to improve retention through finding new customers, believe it or not. So that should be where the overwhelming majority of your efforts go, not into retention marketing. From a campaign perspective, yes, you will want to build a very simple, reliable template that is flexible. So when you do have these key periods like Christmas, Black Friday, you have a company-wide announcement, you can just quickly go in, make a text-based email and just shoot something out to your subscribers. Maybe you want to clear some inventory, etc. You don't need to be too sophisticated here. Just keep it simple, stupid. That's the sort of motto I recommend until you get to the 7-figure range. So let me talk about what is different once you get to 7 figures. Okay, so at 7 figures, you're still actually going to want to keep things relatively simple, but you will be adding a bit more sophistication into your setup. This is primarily because you'll start to have more of a tech stack and you'll have more integrations that you'll want to pull in to your email service provider. You'll also get more leverage from leaning on your customer database and sending campaigns to drive returning customer revenue and move the needle on retention. So at this stage of the business, you will want to build upon the core flows definitely and start sending around 1 to 2 email campaigns per week to try and move the needle on that returning customer revenue. You'll also want to start encouraging SMS subscribers and building out that channel as well. Easy way to do that is, of course, with a pop-up sign-up form, as well as encouraging your existing email subscribers to subscribe to your SMS. So you're really just trying to build out multiple retention channels where you can communicate with your customers. You can also start focusing a bit more here as well on things like zero-party data, intentional data that the customer shares with you in order to personalize the customer experience for them. And basic A/B testing as well. Again, nothing too sophisticated here. I recommend keeping it very basic, focused on the core revenue driving flows. For example, the abandoned cart, the welcome flow, and the post-purchase flow. What offers move the needle? That's where the low-hanging fruit is, and you will actually be able to create leverage with your email marketing strategy. At 7 figures, it's also likely, as I said before, you will have some more apps and integrations. For example, your review software to collect UGC. Just keep it really basic here. Don't fall into that shiny object syndrome, because you will end up with a really cumbersome, expensive setup. I've seen it a lot of times where the CMO or the CEO gets sucked into these apps, but you really just need to focus on what moves the needle here as well. So do keep it stripped back and basic, and don't fall into this software trap of thinking adding apps and apps will really make a difference in your business. Chances are it won't, and it will be a distraction and a waste of money. So really keep it basic. Okay, congratulations, you've made it to 8 figures, the promised land for a lot of businesses. A lot of D2C companies just never arrive at this stage, and things tend to change quite significantly in all areas of the business. And because 8 figures is such a massive range, I'm actually going to split this section up into 2. We're going to focus on sort of the 10 to 25 million range, and then we're going to focus on the 25 to 100 million range, what I call the beast brands. And that's where I'll really go deep into some of my experience. But let's start at the lower 8-figure range, the sort of $8 to $25 million in revenue. So you'll definitely want to start building out more advanced automation at this point. For example, if you're in a consumer packaged goods industry, fast moving consumer goods, you might want to start investing in product replenishment flows, because you've got enough data to automate some of these reminders and really keep the profits high within your email setup. You also want to start leveraging some of the software's predictive analytics. So if you look at tools like Klaviyo or other ESPs, they will be able to sort of time, especially now the way data science and AI is becoming more sophisticated, when the customer is most likely to buy. So you will definitely invest in a bit more of a sophisticated automation setup. You will also have these other components of your business, for example, ambassadors, influencers, and you will probably want to start integrating these components into your CRM setup as well. What I mean by this is, say you want to launch an ambassador program, you might have some specific triggers on the flows where you send emails out and try and get people to participate over email. So just bringing in that multifaceted approach of different departments in the business will start to become integrated into the email marketing setup. Probably going to want to explore some advanced conditional logic on core flows as well. For example, a cart abandonment flow. Rather than sending the same offer to everyone, you might have some unique permutations. If the cart is above an AOV of $50 or whatever, or they don't have these items in their cart, you'll probably want to invest more into making a more granular customer journey that's personalized to the recipient. So as I said, the integrations will become slightly more complex, as well as integrated into the overall email marketing strategy. You'll find yourself speaking to other departments a bit more here as well as you start to level up the strategy. Campaign frequency will go beyond the main sales related offers. You might be distributing a lot of content here as well through speaking to other departments, finding out what's going on social media. Is there any specific UGC you can create for the acquisition channels? So you will start to share company initiatives, new news. You might be launching new SKUs where you need to conduct qualitative research from the audience. I can link some examples in this video. So this will be other important parts of your campaign strategy, in addition to obviously driving sales, which is still the main focus, or will always be the main focus with email marketing for e-commerce businesses. You'll also start to become more savvy and familiar with using data to drive your strategy. What I mean by this is looking at things like cohort analysis, right? And seeing where you need to focus and where the opportunities are in regards to things like repurchase rate, which products result in a high lifetime value. This will play a small part in determining your strategy, I would say, in this region. As you get to the higher 8-figure region, it definitely becomes paramount to really focus on that incremental improvements that you get from looking deep into these insights. Overall, a low 8-figure brand will need a sophisticated flow setup, basic A/B testing, omni-channel development beyond email, using SMS, even direct mail, pulling into the CRM, as well as objectives to support the business beyond direct revenue generation. So as I mentioned, you won't just be sending emails to sell, you'll be focused on other areas of the business and how you can support them. Beast brands, 25 to 99 million in revenue. Definitely my favorite to work with, just because there's a lot more data to play with and you can really get statistical significance quite quickly on a lot of the advanced tests you're running and just see whether things resonate with the audience or you need to discard certain ideas. It's a lot of fun to work with these brands, but there's also some implications that you might find yourself needing to consider, which I'll explain shortly. 8-figure brands in this range are definitely a different beast entirely, and they require multifaceted teams that you will need to communicate with. It could be anywhere from CMOs to data science teams, different parts of the business with other initiatives going on will become heavily integrated into your strategy. So the compounding gains that you're able to develop will have a lot more focus here and sort of rigorous scrutiny from other members of the team. You'll need to get very familiar with terms like holdout testing to measure the true incremental uplift of some of your strategies. Lifetime value, that'll be another thing that you hear a lot of governing your decision making, and you might even need to get buy-in from certain stakeholders at this part of the business. Your A/B testing here is going to become more advanced and rigorous, and this is because you're going to have a lot more data coming into the ESP, and when a lot more data is coming in, you can obviously move the needle more and you have a lot more room to experiment in order to drive and maximize profits for the business. So you're going to need to be more of a T-shaped marketer here, definitely. In fact, anytime you cross into the 8-figure range, you could argue that you need to be skilled beyond email, but especially as you're working with the beast brands, you need to really consider the implications of the strategy that you propose and whether it's driving long-term value for the business. So definitely try and become more robust in terms of your understanding of economics, the financial implications of your strategy, other areas of e-commerce. It's really, really important to level up your education here as well, because it will be required in order to continuously grow and improve these brands. Cohort analysis, we mentioned before quite briefly, it will dictate a lot of strategy when you get into this range. And the final thing I will note here is that you will have to navigate a lot more politics and bureaucracy and red tape. For example, you might have a design department who will not allow you to run certain ideas because it's off-brand. You'll hear a lot of stuff like this. So this is probably one of the drawbacks of working with the bigger brands, because they're more established and they have more stringent guidelines that you need to adhere to in terms of design, copy, what you're allowed to do, the offers you're allowed to create. There is sort of more limitations that you're allowed to move forward with sometimes. But the flip side of that is the things that you are allowed to do, you can get statistical significance on very, very quickly to validate some of your ideas and really make a big difference to the brand because of the database size and what you have to play with. Overall, to manage a high-level 8-figure brand, you need to be an expert at managing data. You need to be excellent with deductive reasoning and understanding how your strategy integrates with other areas of the business. You need to harmonize team efforts as well. You can't be siloed thinking how to maximize email as a channel without considering the implications and the impact on other areas of the business. And you need to navigate politics, unfortunately, as well. There is going to be other people interfering with your work. You'll need to play nice with them and learn how to get along in order to get them on your side. But ultimately, what you want to focus on is what is the best outcome for the business. Don't become siloed and just focused on your own work. You really need to work cross-channel with other departments here in order to get the best outcomes for the company. You could argue these skills go way beyond marketing and more into human psychology. And in my experience, I agree with that. Now, if you're crossing into the 9-figure range, well, that is a different kettle of fish altogether, and you'll spend most of your time, in my experience, just working on politics. So that is something to consider. Overall, hope you enjoyed this video. If you found it helpful, please subscribe. Really trying to build the channel, and that will be massively appreciated. And hit the like button. If you do have any questions, drop them in the comments below and I will definitely respond to you. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you soon.